you freaked out. You freaked out so much that you were knocking at my client's door at 2:30 a.m. in the morning.
Now I got to handle that situation.
With legal papers, acting like you have the power to enforce some type of "you got served." You guys, this is the type of person Billy is. Like, he does have a brain injury, so maybe there is something like literally wrong with him. I don't know. But this is like crazy behavior.
Hey, this is the type of shit, man, you wanna talk your shit, you get what I'm saying? Take a long drive. Let's talk to the people. And that's on shit.
What's going on, YouTube family? I appreciate you guys for checking in. And today we're going to be going over a viral debate between Billy Carson and Wes Huff. Billy Carson is an author, a researcher, and an entrepreneur best known for his work in the fields of ancient civilization, alternative history, and spiritual exploration. Now, Billy Carson is said to be an expert when it comes to spirituality. He believes in different gods and deities, which he believes created what we know as the world today.
You happen to stumble into one of the world's foremost experts on biblical texts, the Torah, the ancient tablets in the world. That's who you're talking to right now.
Now, Billy got into this quite controversial debate with a gentleman by the name of Wes Huff. Wes Huff is a biblical scholar. He's a professional Christian apologist, a former paraplegic, and a retired track athlete. Now, Wes Huff is not as widely known as Billy Carson, but he is now due to this debate. And he's done the research to prove that Jesus did roam this world at one point and that he, in fact, was crucified. Now, during this debate, Billy Carson argues that Jesus was never crucified, that Jesus may have had a wife, and he challenges the creation of humanity. Now, the reason this debate has gone so viral is because Billy Carson showed up to the home of the host of the podcast at 2 in the morning with legal papers threatening to sue him if he would release the video of the debate. And since then, Billy has allegedly fought to sue Wes Huff.
Billy Carson is attempting to sue me. For those of you who don't know, I was invited to interact with Billy on a podcast that he agreed to come on. It was not his podcast, where he was notified beforehand who I was and what we'd be talking about. After that debate took place, Billy attempted to suppress the footage. That didn't really work.
The host of the podcast, as well as his manager who arranged the podcast, including going on his own platform to defend himself.
All your listeners and all your followers and all your cult people and all your people that are in your organizations that are coming to watch my video with that dark energy. How are we going to see the fall of Billy Carson? That's dark energy, that frequency that's coming here. You see this behind me? That's the face of God. God's not a man flying around with a magic wand granting wishes. God is a frequency, and it's your job to tune in. Y'all didn't tune in. See, I'm tuned in. So all this dark energy that you're bringing toward me, Abel chemically converted that energy into money.
Billy Carson opened up the debate by stating that Jesus was never crucified and referring to the Sinai Bible, which was discovered well before the King James Bible, which we use today.
In my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible. Okay, according to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. And that Bible predates the King James version of the Bible, and the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James version of the Bible, which came much later.
Now, there was only one issue. Billy was completely wrong. Wes Huff, who actually had a copy of a manuscript of the Sinai Bible, clarified that it actually did contain the New Testament and Jesus' crucifixion.
When you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus? Like the codex that comes... Okay, I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. Its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. When you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there, I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say, Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified. And that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or, the John 19, or any of the other ones. So actually, are you able to pull up a website with the viewers or listeners or whatever be able to see that?
Now, after fidgeting on his phone for several minutes, Billy Carson then admitted that he was actually wrong and that he actually meant to reference the Book of Barnabas, which Wes Huff proved was a known forgery because the Book of Barnabas mentions text from Dante's Inferno, which was written well after the crucifixion of Jesus.
I found the text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
But the Gospel of Barnabas in particular, we know it's a forgery because it does things like paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314. So there's a lot of internal evidences that disqualify the Gospel of Barnabas, never mind the fact that we don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century.
Billy Carson then went on to claim that Jesus had a wife and that there was a book proving that he did that was kept in Harvard, stating that if he had a wife, it's possible that he was never crucified as well. This was also debunked by Wes, who clarified that this was also a known forgery.
And then also they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary. It adds more to the hypothesis that maybe he wasn't crucified.
So the Gospel of Jesus' wife is in the Harvard Library. However, the reason why we know the Gospel of Jesus' wife and that Karen King, who kind of vouched for it and she lost a lot of credibility, unfortunately, for her, and she's admitted that it's a fake as well, was because we can tie it directly to not copying from an ancient text, but actually copying from an online version of the Gospel of Thomas in a PDF form, and the mistake on that PDF form was copied into the text that was borrowed in the phraseology of Jesus' wife.
Billy also argued that he doesn't believe that the world was created by God, and that in fact it was created by gods, but not the God that we know of, and that there were extraterrestrial beings who traveled our solar system, landed on Earth, and created the civilization that we know today. This was information that he retrieved from the Enuma Elish, stating that a lot of the verbiage found in the Enuma Elish were similar to the Bible, leading him to believe that it was copied from there and inserted into the Bible. Wes had a counter for that one as well, pressing Billy to mention the similarities, which Billy did, but it wasn't enough substance to conclude that it was copied from the Enuma Elish and inserted into the Bible.
So let's go into the Old Testament a little bit. I discovered that a lot of information from the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation is a lot of in Genesis, a lot of the creation story that comes into Genesis. It's literally almost word for word from the Enuma Elish. And so we tend to see this copying of ancient tablets, text, and scriptures, even some papyruses, into the biblical text.
I'm just curious, when you say that there are not just parallels, but there's actual copying, looking at Genesis chapter 1 and 2, where the creation story is summarized in the Bible, what are the actual kind of parallels there that you're looking to? Because as someone who's read both, I not only do I not find parallels, I actually think that Genesis chapter 1 is actually an apologetic against documents like the Enuma Elish. So what are the parallels there?
Separated the waters from the waters, for example. That's in the Enuma Elish, and that's also in the biblical text.
The only reason I highlight that is that if you're making this the argument, there are superficial parallels. I would agree. The separation of the water, the concept of the earth being formless and void. That's also in the Enuma Elish. However, I think it's the details that make the difference, and if we're looking at not the superficial crossovers, but the actual themes and concepts of what it's saying, you don't have a creation within 7 days.
I'm not going to take the Enuma Elish and put it into the biblical text. There are certain words that they utilize that let me know that they copied it from that text. Like, for example,
so what words?
Separating the water from the waters, the void, the earth being void. That information is literally just copied over. So it tells you that somebody saw that and said, let me add it to this book right here. Or let me
Let me just say this. So the reason why I say it's actually an apologetic against that is because the purpose of the Enuma Elish was to point out the fact that the deities actually come from the created order. So they're not outside of time and space. They actually come from the created order. And when they die in this battle, right, when Tiamat is defeated, the defeated gods become the earth and the sky and the plants and even you and me. And in that sense, the theme is that you don't actually have any purpose or end result, And you're not created in the image of God. In fact, in the ancient Babylonian system, only the kings were created in the image of God. And what we see that is counter to that is that even, sure, there's superficial, divided the waters, but we find that in almost every society and culture. That's not a parallel as much as it's just a generality. I would say what we see within the biblical account is that God purposefully creates. There's only one God. He purposefully creates, and then he creates and it's good. And it continues to say it's good 7 times. And then at the end of chapter 1, just for, the thick people in the original audience, it says, and then it was very good. And then he creates humanity, not kings, but simply the humans that he creates in God's image. And they have purpose and meaning, and that instills them with this creation order. And that's not what we find in the Enuma Elish. In fact, we find the opposite in the Enuma Elish. I would say, just with all due respect, the parallels linguistically are not there. There might be superficial kind of concepts that are there, but they're so superficial that we can find them in everything.
Billy went on to agree with a lot of the points mentioned by Wes and didn't challenge him. In my opinion, Wes completely dominated that debate, leaving Billy speechless. And soon after, he left the debate, claiming that he had an important meeting to attend. Now, Billy responded on his social media platform, stating that he's suing everyone involved in the debate, that he had no idea that he was walking into a debate, that he had just got out of the hospital being close to death, and that he didn't have time to prepare for such an interview.
Even though I was going over there to do this kind of debate, I thought we were having a casual conversation on spirituality, and I wasn't really even fully in my right mind. I've just almost died a few days before going to his house, literally.
But someone who is as confident as Billy and has a major platform, you would think that his counter arguments weren't something that he would have problems remembering the sources. And as I said before, Billy has been on prominent platforms such as the Joe Rogan Show, in which he also mentioned the same misleading informations about the crucifixion of Jesus, proving that he's been misleading for quite some time now.
As a matter of fact, the Sinai Bible, Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible, but then you go to the Sinai Bible, in the Sinai Bible, and the Sinai Bible. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
Now, what I personally believe is that you shouldn't believe everyone that you listen to. And just because someone sounds smart doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have to fact check them. With anything that involves what's important to you, your religious bias, your belief, your foundation, you should definitely fact check it and not just believe anyone because they sound great. Now, Billy made it clear it's not that he doesn't believe in God, but that he just doesn't believe that Jesus was God, but instead that God is a consciousness that we all have within us. Now, many people have been misled by Billy over the years because the concepts that he talks about sound like they're right. However, when facing an expert like Wes, we find that a lot of his information is just inaccurate. And since the debate, Wes has gained many followers. He's practically blown up overnight, while Billy has done the opposite. In fact, he's lost followers. A lot of people who used to believe the things that he said have now turned their back on him because the truth has been revealed. Not everything that he says is sound. There are plenty other interesting points that were covered in this debate, which I'll leave in the description below. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Until next time.
Yeah, you gotta charge it to the game and keep it a buck. I ain't never dropped no dime, I kept it on hush. When I touched my first burner, it gave me a rush. And if a nigga want to smoke, it's up and it's stuck. Now he say he want beef, let's take it to the streets. We ain't even about to tweet, let's keep the shit discreet. And you ain't gotta drop your ad, I know where you be. And now I send a couple Z's to put that boy to sleep.